Gracie's going to inspect. Occasionally I buy a sewing machine, whether I need it or not, and sometimes I buy one whether or not it's a hot mess. Well, this machine kind of hits all of those points. This one's a hot mess, and even Gracie thinks so. She's sitting here inspecting. The wiring's a hot mess, and technically, no, I didn't need this. This 99. Although a 99 in a bentwood case is always a welcome addition around here. And even Gracie thinks so. But anyway, this one in particular, it has this foot controller. I would say hardwired in, but this is barely connected anymore. So that's obviously going to go. And I don't know why they did that. This is set up for a 3-pin... Really, Cat? For a 3-pin power, with a 3-pin power block. So there are so many other options. Originally, this machine had a foot controller. So I don't really know why they did what they did. But suffice it to say that whoever got their paws on this thing in the past was unhappy with the power situation. So we're going to use this as an example. I'm going to, well, here, let me turn this around a little bit so you can see a little better. I'm going to eliminate this power block, and I'm going to use a different motor mount. And I'm going to hardwire. I'm going to take the motor and the lamp off. I'm going to rewire this whole thing. We have a covered compartment here where there's, well, I haven't even looked inside yet. There may or may not be the remnants of a foot controller in here. We'll soon find out. Let me see if I can poke something in there. Yeah, there's something in there, all right. We'll soon find out what's under this plate. But we're going to use some different connectors for power. And we're going to rewire the lamp as well as the motor, tie them into a different power block underneath. And it will still have a detachable power cord, and it will have a separately detachable foot controller. This is going to be an experiment. Continuing on with the experiment I showed last week, where I used a different power connector. So let me get the machine itself. Well, first of all, let me get the cat off the bench. She's looking out the window, and oh, I see what she's looking at. There are birds out there at the feeder, and she's having a Gracie moment. Anyway, I'm going to get the lights off of this thing, the motor off of this thing, and get the machine off of this base. And then we'll be back and we'll take a look at the rest of this nightmare. Okay, there was only one screw holding the barrel hinges in the back. So, like I said, this is a new to me machine. We're going to see what's going on with this. And, oh, isn't that special? Okay, well, whoever did this didn't do us any favors, but they also didn't make life difficult on us either. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to cut all this away. Obviously this wire here is rotting. And we will disconnect this, even though we are going to change all that wire. I don't know why they connected that the way they did, but that's not my problem. It's not my monkey, not my circus, as I like to say, because we're going to be changing this all out anyway. I don't throw any of these things out, but this particular controller, we're going to take this out of circuit. There's some wooden blocks that form the corner supports for the 99 that have become unglued. No worries. The blocks are here, and we will re-glue them in place once we get. I might even wind up replacing the. Yeah, I'm going to wind up replacing the plywood inside the bottom of this case. This plywood is in bad shape. It's becoming delaminated, so that will get redone as well. It's not going to get redone for this video, though, because it doesn't need to be for this moment. But we're going to take all this apart. And this is not uncommon to see stuff like this. This machine, I haven't looked up the serial number to see when it was made, but it's old, we know that. And many other hands have had their time playing with this over the years. So, all right. Why isn't that dropping out? I had a little diversion just a few moments ago. I got called away and I did a house call to fix a 50-some-odd-year-old Kenmore. And the good news is that the Kenmore is now stitching nicely. So we're back to this project, and what I'm doing now is I'm taking off the latch side plate, or I should say the side for the fixed portion plate on this, so I can get these pins that are down this hole out of this mortise. Get the pins out of there. That was just going to bother me. They weren't affecting the operation of the latch of the case one iota, but I knew they were there, and that would always bother me till the day I died if I left them there and didn't do anything about it. So yeah, I had to take those out. So we'll go ahead and put this back together. Put these back in. That's probably the first time these screws were removed since this machine was built in 1929. Yes, I did take the time to look up the serial number when I got back from the house call. What we are going to use is this little terminal block, which does have a plastic cover. This is obviously it's 3-conductor, and it's got connectors on both sides. I'm going to mount this in crosswise in the case at about that position, although straighter, I hope. This particular one I bought on Amazon. I bought 10 of them actually, and it does not come with screws, unfortunately, but because I am my father's son, I have no shortage of hardware in this world. So I located some screws. They appear to be, I think they're number 6. They might be number 8. They are self-tapping sheet metal screws, actually. And I'm going to go ahead and drop one in place and grab a Phillips screwdriver and just, this wood should be dry enough that this shouldn't be a problem, just putting it in without actually drilling a pilot hole. We're going to be using panel mounts. Now the panel mount that came with this has one hole in it, and we're going to be feeding wires from the machine and from the light through this hole, and that's fine. I'm going to have to clean this up before I zot some other holes in it. But I'm going to put another hole back here where we're going to use the same connector, same type of connector that we used for the power cord on that other machine, And then up front, we're going to put in a larger hole. And this is going to be actually I'm going to pull this cap off because we're not going to need that. This is a female panel mount connector. And the cord connector is a big male connector. This is what's going to go to the foot controller. Now, with a male panel mount connector over here going to power, it's perfectly safe to do that and have the male here, because the female side will be at the end of the power cord. And as I explained in the last time we did one of these, with the male connectors here in the panel mount, the cord end, these are recessed. So even with this plugged into the wall, it's not a great idea to have this plugged in the wall without having it connected, but the chances of getting zapped from this is far, far less than if you had this as the other end that was plugged into the wall, because you could easily zap yourself with that. But with power coming in here and this larger, beefier connection here going to the foot controller, I think you can see where I'm going with this. We can still have a detachable foot controller and a detachable power cord. Granted, it'll be two different connectors, but it should work quite nicely. So let me mark up where these are going to go, and then I'm going to go out to the other shop and I'm going to make the appropriate holes using the drill press for this. So this is what I'm going to be using to cut the holes in the panel. The larger diameter one for this panel mount is going to be using the 13/16 size, and the one for the smaller diameter panel mount I'm going to be using 5/8. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just double check placement. I'm going to take these off in a moment. I want to see what these look like in position. I don't really have a solution for covering that other hole just yet. I will eventually come up with something. So that's what that will look like. The wires from the motor and the light will enter into this base through this grommet here. That will be our power, and this will be to our foot controller. So when hooked up, foot controller will be hooked there, and power will be hooked there. And of course, then we'll have the machine up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to prepare the motor with its new wiring, the light with its new wiring, and we'll put this whole thing together. These are the Engineer PZ60 screw repair or screw gripping needle nose pliers. These are great if you have one of these 3 conductor blocks that the screw caps are a little tight, because with this rounded opening it allows you to grip this and just give it a quick little turn and let you get these off when they don't want to come off anymore, without damaging them, I might add. This motor, by the way, is a BU7e Singer motor, and these wires, they are not in horrible shape, but I'm going to change them out to prove a point. This light is in horrible shape. The wires aren't bad, but we're going to change them. This old cloth insulation wire, it's all going goodbye. And get the crap off of this mount. Okay. So, you want to see how these things go together? Should I shoot the rewire process? If I do, this video is going to be longer. So, okay, I'll shoot it. You asked. I can hear you from now saying, yes, take it apart. We want to see it. So, okay, first step, I'm going to remove the screw that secures the pulley on the end of the shaft. There's the set screw. There's the pulley. Actually, the set screw did not have to come out that far. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that back in so I don't lose it. Alright, got that off. We have to get this cover off. There's how many screws? 2 screws to hold the cover in place. Screw number 1. Actually, let me get a screw bin here. I should say a parts bin. That is no more than a little plastic tub, and like a little fruit cocktail type cup came out of. Alright, we got the screws removed, and let's just make sure it's going to move. There we go, it's going to move. And okay, next step, get these end screws out. These are quite long. Actually, no, strike that. We're going to take the brushes out first. Brush cap just went flying. I see where it went on the floor. There's the brush cap. Plenty of meat on these brushes. They look like either this motor hasn't been used that much or they were replacements. There's the brushes. Now we're going to remove these end screws. And yes, I'm the guy that used to say I don't have a good track record with fixing these motors. And honestly, if you look at my overall averages, I do not. But lately, I've been doing a lot of them. And I've been doing a lot of them just simply to get better at them. And can you think of a better reason to do something but to improve your skills? Give that the old tappy tap. And the back end is coming off. I want the front end to come off. So I'm going to see if I can get the wires to push through. Alright, the back end wants to come off. See if we can make the front end want to come. And I'm just going to hold that there, give that a little pry. Now the front end wants to go. Okay. There we go. Got the front end started. Front end's coming off. The problem is getting these wires through the front end. I'm going to have to clip these ring terminals off. And by the way, clipping off the ring terminals right now, that's the equivalent of the point of no return. Crossing the Rubicon, as it were. And out it comes. Push these wires back through this metal casting. Alright, I'm going to pull the armature out, but I want to make note. First of all, I'm going to check for washers. We have a washer on the front. We have one thin one so far on the back. I'm going to get this band off now, that I can slip it out. Then we're going to take a closer look at the bearing in the back and see if any washers stayed. I see none stayed here in the front. And that's a good sign. Okay, got the band off. Let's take a look. Did any washers stay? No washers stayed. Okay, it is not too bad of a mess inside with carbon, so I am not going to take that apart over there. The wires to the brushes look just fine. So let me grab a paper towel, clean up some of my mess here. Yeah, that's nice and gross. Okay. And that's fine. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to leave We're going to leave sleeping dogs lie on that. And I'm just going to attack this here. Now, these two rings form part of the strain relief. We're not going to be using those in the same way that they were used here, because the new wires that are going in are smaller in diameter. I'm not going to tie a knot. I'm going to use a wire tie instead. And we'll use these on the outbound side of the wire tie. But I'm going to put a wire tie with the new wires attached. I'm going to put the wire tie right about here, and actually closer to here. And so it'll be, looks to be about 1/2 inch out. Yeah, about 1/2 inch out. So let me go ahead, grab some yellow, not some yellow, some black and some red wire. And we'll go ahead and we'll solder new wire onto this. So we have something nice, new, and flexible. We'll make a cable out of it. I'm going to make it considerably longer than it needs to be. And I'll be right back. Let me grab some wire. Now, I got to confess something to you guys. I did not test run this motor before I took it apart, which I might live to regret. But we'll see what happens. I am going to take this next over to the bench motor. Before I do the wiring, I'm going to take this to the bench motor. I'm going to clean the commutators off on the armature here. You've seen me do this before. I'm going to do it with the foam core nail files, but I have some that I have ripped to a shorter width on my bandsaw. You can cut them with a utility knife and a straight edge too, get the same effect, but I can't use a full width one in here for obvious reasons. It just won't clear. So I'm going to do that off camera. You've seen that before. So I'll be right back. Okay, I've cleaned off the commutator bars of the armature, and then I went ahead and I flushed it with quick drying contact cleaner to get any copper remnants that might have come off that might be between the commutators, to get them out of there. So anyway, the commutator is clean as it's going to come. It's clean and shiny. I'm going to set that aside and we'll tackle the wiring. I know my bench appears to be a bit messy at times, and I hate to say it this way, but there's a reason for that. I just sometimes don't have a tremendous amount of time to go back and clean it off that much. This is a working shop. It's not a TV studio. And honestly, I am cranking stuff out. So yeah, sometimes I don't get a chance to get it spick and span in between motors or in between machines, especially when I'm doing a lot of motors. When I'm doing multiple machines, yeah, I clean a lot of stuff off. But when I'm just sitting here cranking out motors all day long, and there's been days when I've just sat here and cranked and cranked and cranked out motors, sometimes it can get a little messy. And for those who are offended by it, well, I'm not going to say I'm sorry, because if I was sorry, that means I would do better. If you're offended by it, all I can say is, well, I'd love it if you'd come over and clean my bench for me, but I don't have time to. That makes sense? Anyway. Besides, if I clean my bench off, it'll ruin my system and I won't be able to find a damn thing. Alright, we got that. I want to burn off some of this excess on here, because this is sometimes getting the cloth insulation off is a bit of a problem. So took a, yeah, that's much better now. I'm just going to clean that with a little contact cleaner. Okay, we'll do the black wire first. And does it matter which one gets red, which one gets black? Honestly, no, it does not. I generally take the one farthest away from where I'm working and I make that black. But honestly, it does not matter. Okay. Got a good solid wrap on that. And my chair is, my stool is creaking. My IKEA stool. It is annoying me. Hopefully it's not annoying you as much as it's annoying me. I just had... I said I would mess up my system. Clean that with the copper cleaner. And apply a little heat here. Okay, I want to make sure I got a little bit, oopsie, on this tail that's coming off here. That's going to ensure that I can clip that off neatly. So, get this pair of flush cutters. Cut that off. That is hot. Ouch, that is hot. Okay. Let that sit for a minute. And go ahead and prep the other side. And this is simply just wrapping around the tail that I left, getting it as compact as possible. The first one that I put on doesn't matter if that's a little long, because that's going to cross over the bottom of the motor body. That's okay before it comes out into making the cable. But this one I want to get as short and as compact as I can get, because this one's going to be coming pretty much straight out. And I'm going to get a little bit of heat going here. Okay. Okay, there we go. Let these cool off and we'll trim this. While that's cooling, I'm going to put a small punch. I may live to regret this, but I'm going to put a small punch through the end cap back here. Actually, I need something that's a little bit longer than that. And I'm going to tap out that end cap. That's going to give me better access to the grease wick. Okay, the end cap popped out, and this is the part that, if I say this is the fun part, I'm being very, very sarcastic. So, oops, stand that up. All right. To extract out this grease wick, I want to take a look at it. I got to go through the hole here to get it. It's not an easy task, and I am not going to push out these brush wires. I want to see what kind of condition this is in. It still seems to be pliable. So I am not going to mess with that. I'm going to push it back up into the hole inside where the grease wick lives. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me get... Alright. These little curved tweezers are awesome. I bought these at McMaster Car. And they're not super expensive, but oh, did they make life easy. Alright, getting that back up in there. It's back up. And what I'm going to do, you know, you're not supposed to oil these, but I'm going to put a drop of oil into the top of that, push that in there just to get some moisture going on that. That little bit of oil on the wick is okay. I'm going to try pushing this in from the back to make sure it's going to be cleared. It will. That'll be fine. And I'm going to do likewise with the front. If the back one's good, I'm kind of going on the fact that the front should be okay as well. But I'm going to recover my tweezers that I dropped on the floor. And I'm going to press that one through as well, just so I can inspect it. Now I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm tweezing the end of that grease wick. And it still seems soft and supple, and it's not too disgusting. So while I have it here, I'm going to put a little bit of oil on that, put a drop down the tube. That's going to soften it up for when we shoot actual grease in there. And that'll be fine. Okay, and I can feel the spring. Everything's working fine on that. So when we go to put the armature back in, I'm going to put the rear in first into the assembly, and I'll be able to reach in with my tweezers and push the grease wick back down into the grease tube, which is right here. And that way I can get it in to slip the shaft of the motor in, and everything will be honky-dory. So, alright, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. The grease wicks are going to be fine. We know that. So I'm going to grab some larger diameters shrink tubing that I normally use on this portion of the connection for, well, no, maybe not. Let me try it on with a regular size first. Alright, I've got some shrink tube here. I might not use the red, I might just use the black, because the black has a slightly larger inner diameter than the red does, even though they're both allegedly 1/8 inch. Okay, that's good. That fits on there. Let me grab my heat gun. We'll heat shrink this first one on. Okay, now I'm going to take a piece, looks to be about 3/8 of an inch long. I'm going to put that in because there's some remnants of that cloth insulation from the original wire. That will cover that, and we'll shrink that in place. Incidentally, the other week Harbor Freight was running a sale where if you bought for their Hercules 20 volt line, if you bought a 5 amp hour battery and a charger, you could get a tool worth, I think it was $119 or whatever. And one of the tools that they offered in the deal was an 8 amp hour battery. These are normally $100 by themselves. So I figured, what the hell, for the price of this battery, I wound up getting another 5 amp hour battery and a spare charger. But this thing, with the 8 amp hour, it heats up real quick and it works beautifully. And do they pay me? No. Do I love it? Oh yeah. And I have other friends who have procured the same the same heat gun and love it as much as I will let them on their own channels extol the virtues should they choose to do so. But like I said, I don't get any money from Harbor Freight. I just happen to love this heat gun. Okay. That wasn't my neatest wrapping job of all time. That's up and over. And I'm going to lather, rinse, repeat. I've got another chunk of this 3/16 that I'm going to put over that just to make sure I got a good seal over that original cloth wiring. Just so that there's nothing that could possibly short out, even though I know it's not going to. Liquid rubber, like Flex Seal, also will do the same thing. This doesn't have to take time to dry, though. Alright, now I'm going to cut this wire, or I should say cut the shrink tube about, looks like about 6 inches or so. That makes the cable. And actually I'm going to do a little greater than the width of my shop light up above. That should be more than enough to get us from the motor. Actually, let me quick check. Yeah, that's more than enough to get us from the motor to inside the hole on the plate. And that's our goal right now. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on. And make sure I'm exiting this in the correct direction. And I am. I'm going to pull this up and over this existing shrink tube. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and shrink that down. Okay. Flip that over and get the other side just to make sure it shrank. And I'm probably going off camera right now, and I am. You've seen me shrink tubing before. And I'm going to take a short piece, like 3/4 of an inch of the 1/4 inch stuff, which is yet the next size up. And because that was not able to go over all of that, I'm just going to put that there. And this is actually where our zip tie is going to be going. Alright, that's on. Now, grab my little zip ties. And I'm going to put one so that it's right there. Trim that off. Now there's no internal fan on this motor, which is a blessing in disguise. Actually, it's not a disguise, it's an open blessing, because the internal fans on these can be a real pain in the neck. So I'm going to get that on. I'm going to go ahead and get the sleeve back in place. There we go. Sleeve is back on. Okay. Whew. Wish me luck. I'm going to start the wires through the hole. And before we go ahead and put the armature in, I just want to make sure that I've got a good spot for my zip tie And it looks like I am a little farther out than I want to be. I want to drop that back just a little bit. So I'm going to cut this one off. Zip ties are cheap. I'm going to put a new one on. Oh, I want a smaller one. I want a small diameter. Okay. I'm going to put that back right at the junction there. Okay. That's pretty much where the knot was on the other. And then we have the little rings. Put the little rings over the wire. Bring that down. And that should work just dandy. Alright. Drop the armature in. Make sure the armature's seated all the way. And it is. Okay. And here's where I say the obligatory, wish me luck! So I put the motor power wires through the cast iron end cap. Start it on the motor shaft. And get her going. Oh, I've got to press the grease wick back up into the hole, like so. It's up and in. That's good. Now we can give it a little tappy tap tap. Pull out our wires. And we'll tap the front cover back on. Get it seated. And we're going to have to get some screws in there. And make sure that that's pulled tight. Get it aligned and pulled tight, I should say. Because alignment of these motors is also problematic sometimes. There we go. Screw number 1. Get her started. She's screwing down. Drop this one here. Screw number 2. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting these screws in and tightening them. Then everything works just ducky, like right now. That's spinning nice and free. Okay, so we got that in. We're going to put this back cap back in place. A little tappy tap tap. That's in. And we will put brushes in, and we're going to put some ring terminals on this and test this motor out. I'm actually going to test it out on the 3-pin block with a foot controller, even though that's not what we're going to use in the end. But you'll see the method to my madness. Now when putting these brush tubes in, please, please, please don't crank them on tight. Or I should say the brush caps. Don't crank the brush caps on tight. That's a great way of breaking them. I know some people have been asking me to do various motors. I do a lot of potted motors on my channel here. I don't do too many of these can style motors. And I have told people over the years, yeah, success on these is not as easy as success on a potted motor. These are actually a lot more difficult to do. They're a lot less complicated hardware-wise, but they are a lot more difficult to get back together again. Alright, get that started. Thank you, Harlan. That is like the best screw starter ever for this small stuff. Harlan knows who he is. Fine gentleman who gifted me some really nice screw starters that were used in the typewriter repair industry. Alright, let me get some connectors on that. Let's be bold and put the motor pulley on as well. There's a flat on the motor pulley that the corresponding set screw will go up against. Now, I have not put any grease into this motor yet, but I think you'll forgive me for that for the moment. At least I hope you will. Plug in a foot controller. I have a power strip on my camera stand here, and here we go. Plug this up. I have a foot controller, and would you look at that? Alright, we'll shoot a little grease into the grease ports. Now that we've got them cleaned and we primed it with a little bit of sewing machine oil. And it's okay to do that just to make sure that the, oops, got some schmooey around. It's okay just to make sure that the wicks are going to work correctly. You can put a drop of oil, no more than a drop. And one successfully revived BU7e motor. I'm a happy kind of guy. Alright, so we got that working. Let me show you how that's going to work in a bigger picture. We'll take the motor off of this. I'm not going to do the wiring for the light in this video. I'll do that separately. I'll include it in another video. The next video I'll put the light in there. So let's work on wiring up the motor and power cord and everything into this base. Alright, we have a working motor. We have panel mount connectors attached to the panel. So let's worry about wiring up the panel mount connectors so they can go to this block. This block we're going to treat like a Singer 3-pin block. We're going to call it 1, 2, and 3 from left to right. Easy peasy. We'll take care of the power side first, which is the small one. We know that will be yellow and red because going on to pin 1 and pin 3. And then the motor and the foot controller will all attach on this bottom side. So we're just going to bring power in on the top. As a matter of fact, we don't even need to have that conductor here in the center loose. We're just going to tighten that screw up. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get some wire. I'm going to solder some wires on here. We know that the foot controller is going to be going to the yellow side and the black side. So I'm going to use yellow and black wire for the wires that are going to go to the foot controller from this panel. And I'm going to use yellow and red wires for the power wires going from here to here. So let me get this out of the way once again, and we're going to go ahead and wire this up. Okay, we've got the panel mount connector for the foot controller wired up now. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that through, and I'm lining this up so that the yellow wires are on the same side of each other. It doesn't really matter, but that's what I'm doing. And by the way, this is numbered as 1 and 2 on the face of it, which there are situations when you're wiring things where it matters which one goes to which on the connectors. This not being a case. Alright, we got that snugged up. Alright, let me clear some of the stuff out of the way here on the bench and bring up the base. And I'm going to show you the concept of how this is going to work. And then I'm going to go back off camera. I'm going to make a power cord, and I'm going to wire. Well, I don't know if I can get this. Yeah, I'll see if I can wire this foot control. We'll take that apart. I will shoot video. It's not going to be included in this one, and I will show that in a different video. So let me go ahead and get this up on the bench. Alright, let that be a lesson to me to double check to make sure the connectors are going to fit before committing to them. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the power side of the block together, which means I'm putting the yellow in the first position and I'm putting the red in the third position. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to run the motor wires through here. The light wires, when the light is eventually rewired, will go through here as well. At the moment, I am not doing the light. I will eventually do the light. So now, first, we're going to take the two black wires that are going to be going together, which will be going to the number 2 position. And that is the black wire from the motor. And we're going to stack in there with it the black wire from the foot controller. We can get the 2 in there, no problem. And crank that down. And then the 2 other wires, the yellow wire from the foot controller goes into position 1. I can get that underneath the little plate. There it goes. And the red wire from the motor will go into position 3. Now, when the light is wired, those are going to be going on position 1 and position 3 as well. But I'm going to put them on the power input side, seeing how those wires are already switched. So now you can see the orientation of the wires. We have, this is the power wire panel jack. That's going to 1 and 3. Here comes the wires from the motor going to positions 2 and 3. And the panel jack for the foot controller going to positions 1 and 2. It's that simple. I left these wires a little on the long side. That is fine. There is a screw here somewhere on my bench that holds this closed. And once I locate it, we're going to screw this down. Before we button this up, I should say that there's this little plastic cover, insulated cover, that just slips over the top of that and kind of clips in place. Not 100% necessary, but it's a nice feature, and I'm not going to eliminate it. That is for certain. So okay, so we've got that on here, and we're going to button her up. All right, I am going to, on camera for another video, I'm going to go wire up a power cord and a foot controller. It will not be part of this video, but I will come back when those are done, and I will demonstrate how this is going to work with a foot controller and with a power cord. That's just going to be another video. This is already really long. So be right back. We have our foot controller plugged into that plug, and we have our power cord plugged in here. Let's give it the old college try. Hot damn. Not only does it work, it sounds good. There you go, kids. I know this was a long Sunday morning Quickies. And for the second video, yeah, I know that was excruciatingly long too. But that's what I've got for you for both of these. I think, well, I don't know if you agree or not, that judging from the first time I did a power cord replacement using one of these, the response was pretty good. I'm hoping the response for this is just as positive. I think this is a pretty good alternative. You tell me. The initial response on using this smaller plug just for power was pretty good. Once again, yeah, this machine originally came with a 3-pin block on this motor, but yet somebody had hardwired in this old foot controller right into the base of the machine. So when we put this back together, we're going to use this style mount that does not have a place to put a 3-pin power block. But we've made this. I want to know what you think. Let me know down in the comments below, and thank you all so much for watching.